Everybody ready? Good evening, everyone. It is 7:15 p.m. on January 25th, 2023, and I call the Committee of the Whole to order, and we'll start with a roll call.
Ellis?
Yes, here.
Francie?
Here.
Gagan?
Here.
Catchman?
Here.
Lawrence?
Here.
Mackey? Morrison?
Here.
Garcini?
Here.
Ross?
Here.
Shaw? Here. Sedor?
Here.
Shaler?
Here.
Shea?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. And tonight we do have a guest speaker. David's here from the Grace Harbor Conservation District with an update with us from their last visit in October.
Thank you, Katie. Yeah, just to start off, maybe I'm familiar, we were here last October, kind of giving the district, Conservation District 101, what we do, who we serve, spiel, and entertaining the idea that Aberdeen join our Conservation District boundary so we could serve folks in the city. So we sent out some more of those materials. We've had some questions from the council now that, hopefully we responded to via email, but we're primarily here to answer those questions. So that being said, I'll go over a quick recap and then we'll dive right into any questions folks might have. So conservation districts, they are a non-regulatory government entity, a subset of state government. And basically we work with any private landowner in the areas of soil, water, air, plants, animals, humans, and energy, as those correspond to natural resources. What that actually looks like in my professional life, in examples of projects, is it looks like going to cities like Newport, where I used to work in Ponderay, and helping upgrade their wastewater facility with infrastructure. It looks like what we did in South Bend currently, where we're working with the community to build their community garden up and bring them new grant funding for those sort of activities. And then, you can look at like other conservation districts around the state that are improving stormwater management facilities, things like that. So basically what we want to do by getting the city in the boundary is expand on work we're currently doing. And I don't know if we did a great job last time mentioning this, but we currently work with the city of Aberdeen. So the Grace Harbor Stream Team is something that we've now put under the Conservation District umbrella. It's about $15,000 we spend helping the city go through its stormwater outreach responsibilities and duties. We would actually like to work with the city more through the Conservation District lens and bring way more money to do way more activities with folks in that realm, right? So there's that certainly, but I do want to point out too that a lot of this North Shore levee stuff I'm hearing about is being brought to you from off the Chehalis Basin, and it also struck my memory, like we work with them on a daily basis, but it's in Satsup and Wayuchi River watersheds. So, as someone who lives in Aberdeen, is part of that B Street flooding kind of issues that happen from time to time, I have a personal but also a professional interest in getting the pump installation, further quicker if we can, with the Conservation District being the local capacity to write grants and so again, not to chew up too much time, I'll just segue quickly to that topic, money, right? Had a lot of questions. How is the district funded? What is the rates and charges? Bottom line, we are 100% grant funded. That means our natural resource technical professionals have to go out into the competitive grant market, find good projects, get them funded. We take some off the top like anyone else to do that, to run our operation. So again, I'm referencing wanting to get bigger, better grants for the city, stormwater, those sort of things. That's where we're at with that. But to get to direct about that rates and charges question that I heard, and then we'll open it up, of course, to any more we have. Basically, if the county commissioners did want to entertain the idea of a rates and charges sort of tax levy thing, that would be a $5 per parcel tax that would happen within the city, the district boundary. The thing that's kind of nice about that as a city is right away, if you were to opt into the district and be subject to that levy, as easy as you join the district, you can opt out. It's just a motion by the council here to do so. We haven't had that happen in this county yet, but that is a possibility. But just to be clear, kind of my model is really if I get into the city and I can meet with some of the private landowners I've gotten calls from, we're gonna add to our project list and write grants. That's gonna pay our way most of the time. So I've had to turn down a couple site visits now from folks close to the Kurt Cobain Park. They're concerned, hey, my house might be outside of this levee. What's that mean in the hydraulic modeling for me moving forward with the erosion I'm already experiencing? So far, my calls ended in, hey, plant as many willow shrubs as you can, but I can't work with you. That's kind of where I end the conversation. So I'm coming here today, again, to field questions on that whole process, but in a nutshell, that's what I want to do is work with the private landowners here in the city of Aberdeen that live basically up the Wishkah River and surrounding areas. So with that, if there's any questions, I'll open it up.
See no hands going up too quickly. It seems to me we were a member of the Grace Harbor Conservation District quite some years ago, maybe. And I don't recall why we didn't keep that up.
Yeah, I checked in with our regional manager with the State Conservation Commission because we're countywide. We're trying to get every city in the county in the district boundary, just like we did down in Pacific. According to the State Conservation Commission records, Aberdeen's never been in. But again, I think that's the volunteer nature of districts. You have to opt in. So it's not as if the district was opted in, then opted out. Now we're trying to reverse that for a third time or whatever. According to the Secretary of State records, Aberdeen's never been in the boundary.
So how do your group connect with Chehalis Basin Flood Group?
Right, so we're a stakeholder or a grant writing entity just like them, but instead of being a state agency, we are local.
Okay.
Even more local than county, I would say. That's why districts were created, and I could get way into the RCW on that.
But you guys work together and
Yeah, as a matter
support
of
each
fact,
other.
one of my project managers, Anthony Waldrop, he's the lead project manager up to Satsupwanuchi, all those large woody debris and log jam projects you see.
Mhm.
The Chehalis Basin is, working with us and promoting those projects. That has all been Conservation District implemented and funded through the grant we wrote. We're one of those matching sources for Office of Chehalis Basin.
So your group is more administrative. Is there a hands-on crew?
I would say we're less administrative, for sure. All I do is I write contracts with private landowners. That's how I operate. So if the parcel there off the Kurt Cobain Park wanted to engage in an erosion prevention project with us,
Yeah.
I'd have a contract with that parcel owner and the conservation district. They would do the work and we would either fund it or work with them on a reimbursement solution to get the work paid for through the grant that we write.
So you just said the Conservation District would do the work?
Yeah, 100%. So that's kind of my background and why I'm here today. I started off planting trees on a work crew.
Yeah.
And now I'm here leading kind of the show. We do the work from top to bottom. So we write the grant. We help the landowner either hire a contractor or they can use our crew, which we have in-house, a planting crew or whatever the project may be. And then I oversee the construction implementation of those projects.
Are you guys building like New Zealand fence and barbs and
Yeah, they have
all
their
that
own,
kind of
they
stuff?
have their unique names and practice codes, of course, with the Natural Resource Conservation Service. But yeah, more or less, yes.
Building wattles, cutting stakes?
And that's the body of work, Frank, we're hoping to get into, right? To me, that's more development, stormwater mitigation stuff as you're developing an area.
Yeah.
We're out in the woods primarily right now, out on the farm, so not so much models yet, but we'll get there, yeah.
Interesting.
Casey and then, okay, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So I think last time you came, council was very receptive to the idea of this, and it sounds like it's certainly beneficial to our homeowners and whatnot. And I understand that a contract is maybe with the city right now and under review, or is it not gotten that far?
We have one,
Okay.
yeah. But
Okay,
no, we've
so
never-
council can probably expect to see this on a future agenda.
Yeah, we're thinking to bring this out on the next council meeting's agenda.
Okay,
Let the council have a discussion and a vote on it at that time.
sounds good.
Deanne?
So thank you for bringing this back to us again, and we can't take action at this meeting at this time, but I just wanted to share that this is the first I've heard the Conservation District referred to in reference to the levee and the flood control projects, and so I probably will be asking council to consider referring this to Public Works Committee for a recommendation. Our preference is to always have things come from one of our standing committees anyway.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, Mike?
Can I say something? So Mike Norton, I'm the manager of the Conservation District. I've been letting David, because he lives in Aberdeen, take the lead on this. But years ago, when it came to the Mill Creek project over here, we're one of the consultants on that to try and help with the vegetation plan and stuff like that. And that was under a special contract. But there's a lot of work we'd like to do. We've had people from the city of Aberdeen who's asked for our help. Someone very close to you guys in the room has come to our 5-year long-range plan, giving concern that there are some things that we're not getting, that they'd like to see us get involved with. And so it's not even just the work, that the citizens of Aberdeen can't vote in our district elections. They cannot run for being a board supervisor and giving input on the 5-year long-range plan. All of that right now is excluded to citizens of the city of Aberdeen. I know that there was a concern about the rates and charges, and I've been doing this for 16 years now, and that's always been a concern, and still at this point in time, there hasn't been any movement on that. And I know David said $5, the max is $12. That's the absolute maximum for this county. But even if that rates and charges ever did happen, 2 things. One, you can opt out. But the second thing is you guys can actually look what the district plan is going to be for spending those dollars and give input to it. So going to schools, going to dealing with water issues in the city and stuff like that. And if it's not to your satisfaction, you can opt out. It's that simple. And that's completely up to you guys. The district has been around since 1938 in this county. We're not new. We actually predate some of the state agencies. And we like to say that we're not just the boots on the ground, we're the soul of that boot. We really are, even the agencies look to us often. And we have been known as the best kept secret. We're trying to change that. But we're finally, because, I don't know what you want to call it, but the worm has turned. And for lack of, I don't know what your politics are, and personally, I don't really care, but the thing is the money is out there now for us to do work. And our objective is to get as much of that money that's going to be out there anyway, instead of it going to, I'm going to be blunt here, instead of it going to Puget Sound or some other places, we're going to try to get as much of that money to our communities as we possibly can. That is our goal and objective, because we know that people here need jobs, they need help, and that's what we're trying to do. We also manage the Pacific Conservation District. We're doing the same thing down there. So like out in the Hoquiam, no, the Hop Tulips, the big project we did. The Hoquiam project, we were involved with that. We're doing some community garden stuff down in the city of South Bend once they joined. We're doing a forest management plan, which we've done with the city of Aberdeen under contract. We're doing the green crab, we're in that fight, you name it. So like, as David said, what we call SWAPA-HE, the soil, water, air, plant, animal, human energy. We can take money from anywhere and put it towards any natural resource issue. And that is our job, that is our task. And we want to do as much work as we possibly can. Me personally, I worked for Big Oil for 8.5 years, went back to college, came back, and I want to do something as much as I can for our community, our communities as we can, but I want to do it in a way that is very practical minded. We're not, and I'll be honest with you, we're not preservationists, we're conservation. We believe in the proper management of resources. We do understand there's a place in society for preservation. That's not really our task. So we're just trying to get as much good work as we possibly can to get it done.
Just one more comment in your favor, if I may. I remember a time some years ago when this kind of thing was fairly new to our area, and being developed. And the very first journeyman watershed technicians were from right here in the Grays Harbor Conservation District in the nation. And it was pretty much, we wrote the book. And Seattle area has jumped on the bandwagon and really tried to get all the dollars. And so the money's gonna be spent, so yeah, it'd be great to take advantage and spend the money here. Liz?
So, by the way, Grays Harbor Conservation District is the second oldest conservation district in the state of Washington. And so I'd like to give a reminder on that. So the shellfish farmers, which we also work with in both counties, that is the oldest form of commercial agriculture in Washington state, period. And the first, even before there was a mandate for the shoreline master plan, which I'm sure you guys are very familiar with, the first one that was ever done was out of Pacific County. It was not mandated, and it was done by the shellfish farmers. So there's a long history of all this stuff. And the thing is that conservation districts are working with natural resource producers. We like to be in front of things as much as we possibly can. And that's what we're trying to do.
Liz?
Yeah, so with unemployment creeping back up, do you folks, are you, or do you work with the Conservation Corps? And is part of your program then in job training, skills development, and employment?
Yeah, so the Conservation Corps, an organization that gets young people to work on natural resource restoration, the actual implementation of it, I came from that program. So now I manage a conservation district. So absolutely, we still hire them to supplement our in-house planting crew, which we need, trust me, constantly. They're out there working this week, as a matter of fact. And we do have a huge, I would say, interest in that career development, so much so that we just signed an MOU with the Grays Harbor Youth Works in town to use our office as one of those hosts and jobs. So, we're doing things with the community already like that. And, it just being part of the city kind of opens us up to even more groups, right? So, yeah, that's the long story. The short story is, yes, we do.
And I'm just gonna talk really loud, but Alexander is hired here we're trying to promote an envirothon program to go into schools, not only to get kids to understand natural resources, it's kind of like the athletes for natural resources, but it's also to get kids, we have programs, we want to get kids from the cities out to the farms to understand what shellfish farming is. That's all because not only to educate them where their food comes from, but some of those kids are going to want to work in those industries. When I took over as manager in 2012, it was myself and one other employee managing both districts. Now there's 23 of us. And we also like to work with a lot of the construction companies that hire people. We got a lot of work going. They've hired more people, so we're very jobs oriented.
On that note, I do the management of the projects and the construction oversight. So the Hoquiam project we did last year up the Hoquiam River is a $3 million project that brought, 14 FTEs to the city of Hoquiam through the Brownfield, construction company, and Brownfield, Rogalins, Quig, they're the big players that do a lot of the implementation of our project. So it is kind of frankly nice to take people who ripped up the woods and now they're restoring them, so that's kind of a cool dynamic we have going as well. They're the ones on these projects, it's local companies. But anyway, if there's any more questions, we'll go ahead and take them, but don't want to eat up too much more time, so.
Did you say you guys are contracted here in Aberdeen with the tree farm already?
Yeah, so a number of years ago, you guys needed help with your forest management plan. And so we have 2 service foresters on staff. And we don't get into the harvesting of things, the timber cruises and the harvest plan. But whenever you do those things through the Department of Natural Resources, you have to have a forest management plan. Most forestry consultants, they actually don't like to do the habitat plan. That's the part that takes the most amount of work, and they get the littlest amount of benefit for themselves for that. So we actually work with consulting foresters very well. So, yeah, we work with you guys to do that forest management plan, and then we left it over to, can't remember the gentleman's name, but he is also the forester out of Montesano, the city of Montesano. And we work very well with him. We also work with the city of Hope on that also. But those are all in singular contracts. And I know it sounds like we're working in the city doing those things, which we are, on a contract by contract basis. But it still neglects the ability for us to go out and work with the individual landowner to deal with these smaller things. And we cannot enter the district or the city boundary to do work without your guys' permission on a contract by contract basis. This would allow us to be able to work with landowners to do a myriad of more things. Also, as I said before, it would allow your citizens to be able to vote in district elections. And if they wanted to run as being a supervisor, and by the way, saying that, I have to put out there that we have 5 supervisors, 2 are appointed by the Washington State Conservation Commission, and 3 are elected. 3 must be natural resource producers, and 3 must be landowners. But it gives the opportunity for somebody who is not a landowner, and is not a natural resource producer, to be able to run for office if they want to, and give input and leading what we do. And essentially the 5-year long-range plan. By the way, anybody here, when we do our update on the 5-year long-range plan, you can come to that meeting and give input, but it's still up to those 5 supervisors to decide what they're going to use that input for.
Yeah, I'll round it up by saying 144 forest management plans outside of city boundaries last year. That's what we produced. So tell me the need's not pretty high here. We do knock them out, yeah. There's a lot of the demand for that we're just not getting to, so. Any last questions?
Thank you so much for coming out again today, David, and council all received a sheet of paper, and there's a few additional ones in the back for anybody in the public that has any questions if they want to reach out. And I did confer with our city administrator that this will come through Public Works, most likely next meeting.
Okay, I'll leave with saying, the opportunity to opt in officially at that state level is every 2 months through the Conservation Commission. They just met in January, next opportunity in March. Obviously, if there's still conversation beyond that, we're looking at May, right? So, and we're gonna be getting calls in May about all sorts of things. So, I'll leave you with that, and thanks for your time, guys. I appreciate it.
There is a $5 processing fee. We'll cover that.
Are you sure? We appreciate that. Thanks again. Next on our agenda is department head reports. Are there any updates from our department heads? We start with the city administrator.
Yes, thank you, Mayor and City Council. We do have, just a reminder, we do have our strategic planning session this Saturday. I will reach out to you. There will be lunch provided for that. That will be from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. If you have any questions, please let me know.
Are they gonna label the food this time?
My hope is that they will label the food this time, yes. One item I would really like to draw your attention to as well is that as we are moving into, so far we have approved, had a first reading on the new meeting format, and so with that comes a new agenda format, and so I have attached that to the report that I sent to you for review. It lays everything out of what the new agenda would look like with the removal of the committee of the whole, the inclusion of the consent agenda, and so I just kind of moved things. So I have received some feedback already from some city council members, so if you have feedback now, I'm happy to take those notes, or you can email me with your feedback as well.
Rick, is the limiting the meeting to 2 hours, and then if we need to go longer, we have a vote to extend it. Is that written up in the ordinance?
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Any other updates? All right. Mayor Shea, do you have an update?
Well, I just got two things real briefly. There's been a lot of talk about changing the orientation of the council desks in order to make it more pleasant for seeing each other and being able to have better conversation. And this subject is not new. We brought this up in the past for the same reasons. And there's actually some drawings, and I'm gonna find those and get them out to everybody. That we had a rendering done up of how to relay this all out. And the problem was, at the time, the council just didn't feel it was something that was seriously necessary enough to spend the amount of money it was proposed to cost. So we'll take a look at that again, and I'll get that information out to everybody. And if you know, I mean, it's up to you, and if we want to make a change, maybe, I think last time city staff was going to do some of it, and then we were going to have to contract some of it. So we'll see how all that works out. The second thing I want to bring up is I'd like to bring a report through finance on the newsletter that we talked about, or that I've talked about, because there's going to be a cost to it. And I want to make sure the council's fully aware what the cost is and how that's going to work out. And we're talking about $11,000 for a year. So that's a nice newsletter, and it's something that'll be eye-catchy and something that'll have substantial information in it. So that'll be a monthly newsletter. So everybody in the utilities will get this and have information on what's going on in the city on a monthly basis. So I know everybody's tried to come up with creative ways to intermix with the public better than we have. And this is, I think, a great way. So I'd like to bring that to the council on the next council meeting as a report. So if I can just send that through the finance committee, or if we need a motion to do that later on. And that's it. That's all I have. Any questions? Okay.
All right, last item on committee of the whole is non-standing committee reports. Does council have any reports from other committees that they're on that they would like to share tonight? All right, seeing none, I'll adjourn the committee of the whole and hand things over to the mayor.
Thank you. This is Mayor Shave. It's Wednesday, January 25th, 2023 at 7:45 p.m. and I call the Aberdeen City Council meeting to order. Deputy City Clerk, will you take a roll call, please?
Ellis.
Here.
Rancy.
Here.
Aiken.
Here.
Catchman.
Here.
Lawrence.
Here.
Mackey. Morrison.
Here.
Bertini.
Here.
Ross.
Here.
Shaw.
Here.
Sedor.
Here.
Taylor.
Here.
Shave.
Here.
Thank you.
I move we excuse Councilmember Mackey.
A second.
Motion was made and seconded to excuse Councilmember Mackey. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Next item is flag salute. Violet Morrison, will you lead us in the flag salute?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's see, who's gonna lead us in the Star Spangled Banner?
We'll get that assigned out later.
That's in the new agenda.
I move that we approve the minutes from the previous meeting.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the minutes of the previous meeting. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Are there any additions or deletions? Okay, moving on to public comments on agenda items. Anything on the agenda that the public wants to comment on tonight, come up to the podium, please. Okay, seeing none, move on to Finance Committee from Committee Chair Peratini.
The Finance Committee didn't meet tonight because we had no items on the agenda.
Okay,
And I would like to move to approve the expenditures and payroll.
Second.
thank you. Motion was made and seconded to approve the expenditures and payroll. Is there any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Roll call. Back to his old ways.
It is a roll call. God.
A motion to approve accounts payable
Why is that so hard to remember?
in the total amount of $1,769,307.58 and payroll in the total amount of $100,214.88. Check numbers 25707 through 25713, 80217 through 80404, and no wires. Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gaken,
Yes.
Catchman,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Gertini,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Sedor,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion approved, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. And with that being all for Finance Committee, I'll move on to Public Works Committee Chair report from Councilmember Shaw.
Thank you, Mayor. Public Works met yesterday. We will go straight to item C under reports and communications. We have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the surplus of the department's 2008 Ford Ranger and have it removed from the city shopyard. I recommend we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, the part where it says, and have it removed from the city shop yard sounds pretty grim.
Did you
I
see
saw the
the photo?
picture, it is pretty grim.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Item 2, we have a report from Public Works and the Public Works Director recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute the professional services agreement with Gray and Osborne Incorporated for the pump station improvement project. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Ellis.
Yeah, I just had an observation and question that in the deliverables, that there's only up to 90% design plans and specs included, and just wondering why that's not 100%?
Rick Sanger, do you have, did you hear the question?
I'm here, but I could not understand what Liz was saying through her mask.
The question was on the professional service agreement with Gray and Osborne for the pump station improvement project, why it's not at 100%.
Mayor, Councilmember Ellis asked this question to me before the meeting and I didn't have the answer, and I encouraged her to bring it up when Rick was on the call, or Director Sanger was on the call. And in the deliverables, there's a point where they're delivering 30%, which I assume is where we decide whether we want to go forward. But that doesn't, and then they deliver 90%. When the question is, why do they not have 100% deliverables?
Is the question, why are we not billing out the whole grant? Is that what the question is?
Why are we not billing out, 100% for the plan?
Well, when we get the grant, or actually this is a loan, it's done on an estimate. When we negotiate the contract with the consultant, we come back with a fee. If it wasn't the full amount, we wouldn't just raise it to the max amount. We'd leave some on the table, and then we would have money to work with for change orders or contingency, if that's what the question is.
So will Public Works be coming back to council then potentially for more money for the 10%?
We wouldn't come back to council unless we exceeded the amount of the grant. We are allowed through the contract to negotiate change orders up to 20 or 25%. So if we were going to need to get more money out the loan or amend the loan, we would have to come back to council for sure. But I think that's what you're asking, Liz. It's very difficult to understand what your questions are.
Thank you for your response.
Okay.
So I'll just add that I'll take a look at that with Director Sanger and make sure that we answered it satisfactorily later, okay?
Thank you. So where are we at with this now? We're voting. Is there any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Where are we at?
So moving on to resolutions. A resolution setting the date for a public hearing for February 8th, 2023 to consider vacating the portion of the unopened street right-of-way in the plat of North Aberdeen consisting of the westerly 30 feet of Laura Street abutting Lot 12 of Block 22, Section 04, Township 17 North. I move we adopt this resolution.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this resolution. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Shaw.
I would just add for council members that may not have been through this process before, property owners have the right to petition us to consider vacating that rights of way when they, and that's what this would be. And we'll be getting more information going forward.
Okay, any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2023-01.
Thank you.
Wow. First resolution.
So under item number 2, we have a resolution amending the adopted 6-year transportation improvement plan. I move we adopt the resolution.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt the 6-year transportation improvement plan. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Rick has a comment.
What? Oh, Rick, go ahead, Rick.
Yeah, we're not adopting the 6-year transportation plan. That's gonna come shortly. What we're doing is we're amending last year's plan or this year's plan because we got some grant money and we needed a new item in the transportation plan. So we're just amending it we got some grant funding for the Sumner Street sidewalks. So it's just amending so we can obligate.
Thanks, Rick, for that. So motion was made and seconded to amend the 6-year transportation improvement plan. It says that right on the page. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
This will be resolution 2023-02.
Oh, two, I could have guessed.
Yes, that you don't.
That's everything from Public Works.
Thank you. Moving on to public safety, committee chair report from Councilmember Ross.
Thank you, Mayor. So public safety met this evening at 6:45.
And first I will read the reports from the chiefs, and then we have a few items on the agenda this evening. So from the Aberdeen Police Department, the activity report for calls year-to-date for 2023, we're at 2,003 calls, which is down slightly from last year's activity and on the same pace as 2021. Officers have responded to 13 overdoses this year compared to 4 at this point in 2022. During 2022, the VIPs, the volunteers, volunteered 1,820 hours, valued at $27,300. The VIPs are critical to the services we provide, and we are thankful for their volunteer spirit. Grays Harbor 911 remains at critical staffing levels and may not be able to answer the non-emergency number as they attend to 911 emergency calls during busy periods. Between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m., we are encouraging our citizens to call the police department at 360-533-3180 to report non-emergency call requests. We're seeing an increase in online reporting and continue to encourage citizens to utilize that service at www.aberdeenlaw.gov. Click on the Aberdeen PD and then online reporting. A couple of promotions: Detective Sergeant Dave Cox and Patrol Sergeant Jeff Weiss will be promoted to Patrol Lieutenant effective February 1st and 2nd, respectively. Their well-deserved promotions will be filling some openings due to retirements in the past 8 months. And the police department currently has 11 entry-level police officer applications that successfully completed the written test and will be moving on to the physical agility test. And after they successfully complete that, then they will be given an oral board panel before the list gets presented to civil service at the February meeting. So we're, by the end of the month, we'll be down 5 officers, so this is critical. And from the Aberdeen Police Department, we have a couple of items on the agenda. On the report, the Regional Fire Authority update, the Central Grays Harbor Regional Fire Authority Planning Committee is nearing final approval of the RFA plan. It is anticipated that this plan will be finalized and approved by the Planning Committee at our next meeting tomorrow night, January 26th. Once approved, it will be brought forward to the Aberdeen City Council for their approval. And moving on to agenda items. We have a report from Public Safety and the Chief of Police recommending that the City Council authorize the surplus of the Police Department's 2013 Chevrolet Tahoe to be sold online at auction. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Is this one gonna need to be hauled off the yard?
No, it's drivable.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving on, a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Aberdeen and the Grays Harbor Fire District 15 for the delivery of EMS services to the district for 2023. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Fire District 15 is located North River. Okay, that always helps to give everybody that little detail. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And our final report this evening, a report from Public Safety and the Fire Chief recommending that the City Council authorize the mayor to execute an agreement between the City of Aberdeen and the City of Montesano regarding the Montesano Fire Department's use of a computer server owned by the City of Aberdeen, whereas the City of Montesano will pay the City of Aberdeen $240 per year for its use. I move we adopt this report.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to adopt this report. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And that's it for Public Safety this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Special agenda items.
Yes, we have a few items today, starting with a public hearing, and this is a public hearing of bill number 23-01, an ordinance amending Aberdeen Municipal Code 2.20.010, time of meetings, and AMC 2.80.080, committee meeting time and place. I move we open the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to open the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. The public hearing is now open on this municipal code for time of meetings and committee meeting time and place. Anyone want to have anything to report on that? Seeing none?
I move we close the public hearing.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to close the public hearing. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, and we also have the second reading of bill number 23-01, the same bill we just had the public hearing about. I move that we accept the second reading.
I second it.
Motion was made and seconded to approve the second reading. Any discussion?
Sorry.
Councilmember Ellis?
I'm sorry. I'm waiting for the next item.
It happens.
Okay, any other discussion? Councilmember Shaw?
Yes, under section 2 of the ordinance, it says that committee meeting times and locations will be established by the members of each committee. And I have an interest to drill that down a little more firmly, strike a balance between our carved in stone and practice in the future. And I would move to amend that section 2 to state standing committee meeting times and locations will be established by the members of each committee annually in January.
Second.
Motion was made to amend the report. Any other second reading of the ordinance? Any discussion? All in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Second reading has been amended.
I think we accept it as amended now. I move that we accept it as amended.
I second it.
Okay, motion was made and seconded to accept the second reading of the ordinance as amended. Any discussion? Under discussion?
This pertains to our new meeting time and also format, or does format not really come into play?
No.
Okay. I just know I provided some feedback on format, and I'll just share with the rest of the council that there was the format that was suggested would have reports from department heads and the mayor and such near the end of the meeting on the agenda. I just think it'd be more appropriate to put them up, similar to kind of how we have now, closer to the beginning of the meeting, so the council has information that we may need sooner rather than later.
Okay. Any other discussion? Seeing none, all in favor of the second reading as amended?
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion carries.
Mr. Mayor,
Yes.
I move we suspend the rules, consider the second reading, third, and place Bill 23-01 into a vote for final passage.
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to suspend the rules and place the second reading into final passage. All in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we need to vote on the third reading.
Don't we do a roll call vote for that?
Yes. We need a motion
Oh, I would motion that we have a roll call vote.
that we approve the third reading.
Approve the third reading.
Okay,
Place it in final passage.
is there a second?
Second.
Motion was made and seconded to pass the third reading. Is there any discussion?
Under discussion, I want to make sure that notification goes out to community members and anybody else that might need to know about it before. So if we're not going to do it the next meeting, to allow for that notification to take place.
Okay,
That's the only consideration I want to point out.
okay, any other discussion?
So
Roll-
just for clarification, you want not the meeting of the first meeting in February, but the second meeting in February to be with the new meeting format?
I'm fine with the next meeting personally, as long as there's enough time for the city to notify people so that they know it's gonna change and people aren't showing up late.
I think the ordinance specifies that we can't change it until at least 5 days after it's been legally published.
Okay. Deputy Clerk, would you take a roll call vote, please?
Ellis,
Yes.
Francie,
Yes.
Gaken,
Yes.
Catchman,
Yes.
Lawrence,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Bertini,
Yes.
Ross,
Yes.
Shaw,
Yes.
Sedor,
Yes.
Taylor.
Yes.
Motion passes 11-0.
Okay, thank you.
This will be ordinance 6692.
All right,
And then I have one final item under ordinances, and this is an ordinance that was created for when individuals are calling in to 911 to simply chat with the dispatcher. They don't have a real emergency or even a fake emergency that they're reporting, simply chatting with the dispatcher to add that to our municipal code. And this is the first reading of bill number 23-02, an ordinance adopting section 9.02.130 of the Aberdeen Municipal Code relating to improper use of the emergency communications system. I move we accept this reading.
Second.
motion was made and seconded to accept this first reading of this bill. Is there any discussion? Under discussion, Councilmember Cedar, you had your hand
A
up.
couple of quick questions. Does this happen very often?
Yeah, it does happen frequently.
And what,
Quite frequently.
is there any current penalty or what is the proposed penalty for this?
It would be a misdemeanor. Currently, we have false reporting that we could enforce. However, when people call and in their mind it is an emergency, then that doesn't allow us to have an enforcement action for false reporting. This is more the instances where somebody calls 911 and the dispatcher's like, "What's your emergency?" And they'll say, "I just want to complain about the mayor." And then the dispatcher tells them, "You can't call here to complain about the mayor." And then they call back, then that does give us an option to have some enforcement action.
And what would that enforcement action?
It's a misdemeanor, so it depends on their criminal history and such.
So
but
a
typically,
fine,
yeah,
possibly
up to 90 days in jail.
90 days in jail,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Okay,
But it's more of a tool for us that we
Yeah.
actually can tell them to stop.
thank you.
Forrest, did you have your hand up?
Yes, Mayor, Mr. Mayor. I had a chance to talk to Lieutenant Snodgrass about this, and he's the one that encouraged me to prepare this. I talked to that dispatch administrator, and she informed me, like, I think the example I used in drafting this up is that she said she used the example of a person calling to talk about her cat. This is not a as Chief Green said. It isn't about like the person calling in saying we have a fire at my house and there's no fire, or I'm faking I have a heart attack and the person's fine. This is just the way it's really was explained to me, is that this people randomly calling and they just wanted chat with the dispatcher, like lonely or something, and they just talk about their day and sign up the lines.
Wow. Okay, any other discussion? Councilmember Shaw.
So I'm not gonna ask that we back up the train or anything, but I'm kind of curious why this didn't come to us from a standing committee like public safety with a committee report recommending a course of action. And I think that would have been, then we could have, anyway, I think that would have been more in keeping with our process.
Okay, Councilmember Ellis?
Yeah, it seems to me like this is I understand the frustration and the stress that the dispatchers are struggling already with time and so forth. But it just seems to me like a real quick, that this isn't the use of this line, and we ask that you only call back in case of an emergency, would go a lot farther than potentially having to put our staff through the legal process of writing up somebody for a misdemeanor and having $1,000 fine, or somebody sitting in our jail for making a nuisance phone call.
Sure, I can appreciate that. I think the challenge for us is that when we don't have any ability to take any enforcement action, they can politely tell them all night long, but we have the same people that just keep calling repeatedly to dispatch. And when there's only 2 911 operators in the entire county, one of them is stuck on that phone call hearing the story about the cat, and there's no recourse for our dispatchers, unfortunately. And I can assure you that enforcement, taking somebody into custody for this would be the last option for us. Yeah, to be able to go to somebody's house and tell them to stop would probably go a long way, I assume.
Councilmember Seaver.
I assume this would be for like repeat offenders, people who do it over and over and over again.
Yes, sir.
And I assume this would also be handled at the municipal court level?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilmember Shaw.
Like I said, I didn't want to hold it, try and back up the train, but could this come to us for a second reading through public safety next time? And give them a chance to talk about it and share anything they might want us to know.
Okay, I think that's fine.
Absolutely, yeah.
Public
This
safety.
came forward before I had taken over. I know Mr. Morgan had been working on it for some time, so that's the method that he brought it forward to.
I'm not, like I said, I'm not trying to be critical or
Okay.
anything, I'm just trying to be, I'm the
Bureaucrat.
standing committee lady.
Sure, no problem.
Okay,
Less stuff for me to do.
all right.
Call for the question.
All in favor of this ordinance, first reading, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
So we'll have a public hearing on that at our next meeting.
Okay,
That's it for special agenda items.
all right, thank you. Now we'll move on to public comments on whatever. Come up to the podium, give us your name and what ward you're in. Anyone from the public on any subject?
My name's Forrest Oliver, and I'm from Ward 2. Kind of the same thing as you guys going toward the 911 phone caller, that he said that probably would be, the last resort would be, arresting them. I have a house in Southside. It took me 11 months to get a renter out. Due to a abandonment notice that I had given the renter, and that's another way for a landlord not have to take them to court. She did not comply with the abandonment notice. And the officers of Aberdeen told me that the abandonment law does not apply in Grace Harbor County. Is that true?
This is your chance for public comments.
Being a Washington State RCW law, I imagine it does apply in this county. Am I wrong? Anybody?
I don't have the answer myself.
Well, I've been told by 3 Aberdeen police officers that this RCW law does not apply in this county. Due to them forcing me away from my own home, this woman has done over $10,000 worth of damage to my home. She cut all my wiring, she cut my plumbing, she graffitied all my walls. I turned her into the Aberdeen Police Department. They refused to arrest her. They refused to evict her, period. She has done a felony. And not only on top of that, just before this, in July, I knocked on her door, told her she needed to be out. She hadn't paid rent in 4 months. She quit paying the water bill. And then she sent me a text stating that my house was not up to code. So I put a 72-hour notice on the door. I brought the building inspecting department from downstairs to inspect my home because when she moved in, it was all up to code. Due to the inspection, there was 7 or 8 fire code violations. So I gave her an option. I said, you have to get rid of all the fire code violations because they were all hers. Nothing had to do with me. You know, nailing my garage door shut, being a fire exit. A foot egress through the basement where there needs to be 3 feet. 3 feet around my fuse box panel and my hot water tank, which was just piled with stuff all in front of it. Stuff stacked in front of the heaters. They had ripped off all my smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. So this was all her fault as far as the fire code violations. So I told her, I said, I'm giving you 2 full weeks, 14 days. The inspector's gonna come back here. He's gonna inspect my house again. I said, if you do not pass fire code violations, I'm shutting your electricity off. I don't care if you think you're a renter. I don't care about landlord-tenant laws, because I have the right as a landlord for you not to burn my house down.
That's your 3 minutes, Mr. Oliver. Did you want to wrap it up with something?
Well, I'm just getting to the fact that the Aberdeen Police Department, I've been through 10 or 12 different officers threatened to arrest me on my own property. And even after I went down and got a lawyer and had her served with another abandonment notice, because my lawyer told me, well, it does apply in Grace Harbor County. And the police department still refused and took her side and threatened to arrest me for locking the door.
Okay, I think you made your point, and if you could just sum it up in a couple of sentences.
I want to know why she's not being arrested. She's forged my name.
Okay.
On a document trying to get the electricity turned back on. She's done almost 10 grand worth of damage to my property due to the police officers not doing their job or upholding the law.
Did you want to respond?
Can
Yeah.
you refer this to the city administrator to maybe look at,
Yeah, I'm very happy to meet with you. I have a card actually ready to go. I wanted to hand that to you after this meeting, and I would love to help kind of work through
I
this.
have photographs
You don't need
on
to-
August 19th, when I did my abandonment notice. I went in, I changed locks, and I took pictures all the way through the house. Meth pipes, heroin needles.
Okay, sir, thank you
Okay.
for your time tonight.
Everything else. I just watched something done.
Okay, anyone else?
Hi, my name is Patrick Carey, and I live in Aberdeen, wherever I find a dry spot, so that varies, some words or another. I'd like to talk about, as you guys are doing, that overdose responses have gone significantly up, and I'd like to talk about fentanyl, which is a terrible, terrible thing. My brother died of fentanyl overdose just last month. But the issue is with Narcan. As I understand it, the Aberdeen Police Department can only use nasal Narcan. The EMTs and fire department can use injectable because they got still training for that. There is not enough. Police officers, I won't name them, are coming to us, people on the street saying, hey, can you get us Narcan? We're supplying police officers Narcan because there's not enough money. Police, we can get it for free. The police department has to pay a large amount of money to get Narcan. There has to be something we can do about this because people are dying.
It's a state, that's a
They're dying
state
everywhere.
issue.
Every week, somebody I know and love dies. So I don't know what we can do, but like I said, I don't know what the protocol is or whether it's even legal. But if somebody, any police officer needs to come and get Narcan, they see me around, feel free to ask. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else want to come up to the podium and speak on any subject? Seeing none, I'll move on to city council comment period. Councilmember Cedar.
I did want to advise the council that next month in February, I have another commitment, and I'll miss both council meetings during February.
Oh,
Sorry.
no. I don't know about that.
I hate to do that.
Thanks, thank you. I'm just kidding.
I need like, what, 6 months on the job, right?
Anyone else? Oh, Councilmember Catchman.
I can't remember if in the past we submitted a report from the Committee on Committees regarding the committee assignments, but I have them here and I'm happy to read them off to the public and anyone that might need to hear it out loud. On the Finance Committee, Councilmember Pericini is the chair, Councilmember Sedor is vice, Councilmember Ellis and Mackey are on the committee as well. On Public Works, Councilmember Shaw is the chair, Councilmember Lawrence is vice, and Councilmembers Francie and Gaitkin are also on Public Works Committee. And for Public Safety, Councilmember Ross is chair, Morrison is vice, and myself and Councilperson Taylor are in Public Safety. Did you need a motion to accept?
Let's just do that.
Councilmember Shaw?
I think the charter does say that they report back to the,
Okay.
but can't hurt.
Yep.
I move that we accept the council's 2023 Committee on Committees recommendations.
I second.
Thank you. Motion is made and seconded to accept the Committee of Committees recommendations for the city committees. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Anything else from the city council comments?
I'll be very quick because I know everyone wants to get home. I just wanted to thank everyone that came to watch the city council meeting. I like seeing full seats. And I wanted to personally thank Mr. Oliver for getting up and sharing his story, and Mr. Carey for getting up and sharing about his brother and the fentanyl crisis. And I know he's not here right now, but I was really sorry to hear about his brother. Fentanyl crisis is getting very scary here. We've had, what was it, 13 already, and a couple more today have passed from overdose, so. Yeah, I think so. Were they 13 fatal?
No, not so far this year.
Not 13 fatal?
Yeah, that we've responded to.
Yeah. It is, regardless, it's getting out of hand, and I know that they're having to use more and more Narcan, and not always successfully, so. Anyway, that's all I had. I just wanted to say thank you for everybody for showing up.
Thank you. Councilmember Pericini.
There is a government website that you just fill out a little form and it'll send you free Narcan. And you can choose whether you get the needle or the nose spray. And I can send that to everyone.
So
You get it for
why
free.
can't the police get it?
I don't know, but why couldn't the police, why couldn't
We do
every
have some
single
now.
police
Yeah, we
officer
do.
just
Got some
send
recently.
in? And I actually have one in my glove compartment if you need an extra one.
Yeah, we have a couple cases we just got last week.
Okay.
Well,
Thank you.
I will send that link so that everyone can,
Okay.
if everyone
Thanks.
here could just send in and get one free one, we could give it all to the police too.
Yeah.
You never know when you're gonna be standing in Walmart and your kid's gonna get on something. You never know when a loved one, you can be standing anywhere and it could affect any of us at any time.
Well, that's what I was just gonna bring up. This fentanyl is so bad, so nasty, and I don't know much about drugs, so I'm just throwing out what I've heard. But it's so bad, it's like you say, you can get affected by it, by somebody touching you or touching something that somebody touched that had fentanyl on it. And it can actually be deadly that way.
I just read a story yesterday, and I can't remember what state it was from, but an officer was exposed to fentanyl, and I think the wind actually blew it into her face. And she overdosed, and they had to Narcan her, I want to say like 3 or 4 times.
Wow.
She survived, but I mean, that just goes to show, you know, how fatal and dangerous it can be.
Yeah.
It happens in a matter of seconds.
Wow. Okay, anything else?
I move to adjourn.
Seconded.
Motion is made, seconded to adjourn. If there's no objections, I will adjourn this meeting.
Isn't there some new drug like fentanyl or something?
Carfentanil, yeah.
Like 100 times more?
It's worse, yeah. That's what we're seeing last